There we go, baby. There we go. Put it in the books. How you doing, everybody? It's your guy, Wardy, here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show to break down right here, right now, as the Amazons absolutely curb stomped the Sacramento Athletics in Game 3 of their series in Sacramento for the first time by a final score of 8-0, headlined by the dominance continued from Kodai Sanga, Mr. Ghost Fork. He's throwing 98 pain in the 7th. Are you kidding me? What a brilliant outing, a masterclass of an outing for Kodai Sanga is what we're going to deep dive in this one, along with breaking down our initial reactions and everything that you guys need to know from this latest series victory for the Amazons here. Innings 1 through 9, everything that transpired in this ball game. Luis Torrens continuing to save my life and yours as the best backup catcher in the game, and quite literally the best catcher in the game right now with the offensive upside. Brett Beatty, Luis Acuna, Mark Vientos, both, I shouldn't say both, excluding Acuna, Vientos and Beatty had rough starts to this ball game, but it ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish, baby, and they had tremendous ends to this ball game that we're going to get into. How you doing, everybody? Thank you kindly for smashing a like and subscribe on as your first chime in. For all my replay viewers, I want to see your initial reactions and comments down below, everybody. Your key takeaways from this ball game. Kodai Sanga versus Luis Severino, everybody. Like I said, we're going to break down to an absolute T everything that transpired in this ball game, folks. But without further ado, let's get a quick roll call of the W's in the chat, everybody. I see a lot of my amazing members chiming in live on a replay. Thank you guys kindly for being in here. We break down the ball game after every single game, win, lose, or draw here on the platform throughout the entire course of the 162. And guys, we're giving away a Mets jersey to one lucky subscriber once we hit 33,000 subs on the platform. Less than 500 away. Help us get there the same way we gave away multiple Juan Soto jerseys already this season just for becoming subscribers here on the platform, folks. Shout out to everybody. Spam those W's in the chat as your first chime in. I want to see them spam the chat right here, right now, everybody. And let's get set with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's go! Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. And let's get into this one, everybody. I got so much to talk about. I want to live react and break it down with each and every one of you. How you doing, everybody? We got Dave in the chat, great member. D-Mac, how you doing? Xavier, Sean, Steve, great member. Eric, great member, how you doing? Everybody up in here. Brian, great member, going up here. Eric, how you doing? Everybody. John, Omar, Haram, great member. Alan, how you doing? Zach Flagerdown, how you doing? My man Dave Kaplitz, how are you, brother? Great member and friend as always. Kenny, Arzi, Leo, great member. Kish, great member. Going up the list here further, Anthony Viola, great member. And if you guys want to become members on the platform, simply click the link down below the description. That way you two will get not only member shout outs each and every show, you're going to get exclusive Mets emojis and right around a monthly exclusive live show with yours truly as we break down the latest in Mets land. Kyle, how are you? Everybody, thank you guys kindly for the donations. Let me get caught up and answer a couple of those real quick, and then let's break down this ball game. Billy Dottie with the $10 Hollis states the following: the middle to the bottom of the lineup needed this to hopefully take against the Twins. Senga was also masterful and the ace we need moving forward. By the way, the Mets won the Luis Torrens trade. You're damn right. The Mets won the Luis Torrens trade. They absolutely won that trade. The Mets gave up $100,000 in cash to the Yankees last year in May or so. A little did we know we were acquiring one of the best catchers in the game in Luis Torrens. He had to tell true, as our man has been an absolute phenom to begin the year and has proved me wrong, because I had a level of concern what the Mets would be getting offensively from the catching spot with Alvarez out to begin the season. But between Torrens doing his thing and even Sanger poking one every now and then with great defense, I can't complain as a Mets fan. D-Mac with a $5 haul. Thank you so much. Shout out to Xavier in the chat, as always, great member too. D-Mac says Beatty, Acuna, Taylor, and Vientos hit parlay, must have paid at large. Seriously, if you were a madman and somehow, someway had a parlay today, Beatty, Acuna, Taylor, and Vientos to all record a hit, you probably won the lotto. shutout, because that isn't going to happen so often, at least not in the early goings of the season, everybody. But I digress. Let's break down this ball game, folks, because it's impossible to break down this ball game without talking about the masterfulness, which was Kodai Sanga on the bump. Listen, heading into this game, my initial reaction was, all right, Sevy's going to know exactly how to approach this Mets team. No doubt in my mind that he's going to come in and carve up some batters. We know he's going to throw gas. We know he's going to paint and dot those corners, and he's going to get a swing and a miss to a degree. Can we get Sevy worked, at least where he's out of this within 5 or 6 innings and pounce in the bullpen? Mets did that to a T, and pitching-wise, Kodai Sanga, after giving the Mets a 2 ERA outing, then a shutty outing, or at least 1 run total, I think it was a shutty on 77 pitches, and Kodai's less than 6 innings of work. His last time out there, he gave the Mets another shutty outing, but it's far and away the best outing that we have seen from the Mets yet. And yes, we're going to talk about Jose Siri, and we'll talk about his potential replacement should he have to go on the injury list. Don't you guys worry. And we're going to expand more on topics unrelated to the game, but more so relevant to the Mets upcoming series in our Big Mets Update segment that'll be dropping in the AM for each and every one of you. Be on the lookout. We have so much to get into on that, from the prospect front, the key health update front, to ultimately what is next for the Mets as they have concluded their 4th straight series victory. But guys, let's start from the top here. In the first, we all saw it together. Lindor gets on with a walk. Soto then reaches on a Max Muncy error. No, not Max Muncy of the Dodgers. We're talking Max Muncy here, the youngster of the A's. And we saw that hit Lindor on the throw, tried to get a second base. Lindor would be safe. Alonso then with a double play after what was initially a quality at bat, a battle between Sevy and Alonso to work a full count, but Sevy won in the end as he got the 2-seam to run in on him, topped over, and that induced the double play. From there, we saw Nimmo misses his catch there a half inning later. Butler then with a leadoff double there, kickstarts things. Not so great, not so looking good for Kodai Sanga to begin this ball game, but it's okay, because after striking out Brent Rooker on the ghost fork gorgeously by Kodai, he works a clean inning as we then head into the second. And in the second, Mark Vientos, as we all saw, struck out looking on the sweeper by Sevy. Torrens then with an opposite field hit. Mind you, Torrens and opposite field are like cheese and wine. They just pair so well together. It continues to happen, and they continue to look so good together. Afterwards, we would see Beatty strike out looking on a fastball right down the pipe. That was frustrating. And then Taylor would strike out there swinging to end it. And Duhar in the bottom of the second would reach on a Francisco Lindor error. Granted, Alonso probably should have had the scoop at first, but another throwing error by Lindor. Not ideal. Not something we're accustomed to seeing, and hopefully we don't have to get accustomed to seeing anything like that anytime soon again. But after that Lindor error, Beatty would turn a tremendous double play by diving out there at the hot corner, because as the Mets started this ball game, Beatty got the start at third, Acuna got the start at second, and Vientos surprisingly got the start at DH. Now, initially heading into this ball game, I said to myself, it makes more sense, honestly, to have Vientos come off the bench, give him a day off there. As we know, he's been laboring, he's worked some quality at-bats, but he still has had his fair share of struggles to begin the season. Vientos' first couple at-bats would make you think I'm right, but towards the end of the ball game, he would prove myself wrong. I'm really happy to see that, because it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And now everyone's feeling happy on that plane ride there to Minnesota for the Mets' next series, which officially begins tomorrow against those Twins. And we will have you covered with pre- and post-game coverage on the platform for that, along with a video dropping in the AM early tomorrow, like I mentioned already. But as we continue to break down the ball game, folks, Mets win this one handsomely, 8-0. And how we got here is in large part not just the offense, but it's Kodai Sanga doing great Kodai Sanga things. Because after that beautiful double play turn by Beatty in the that we saw in the second, then we saw Brown with a 2-out single, and then Soto makes a running catch to end the inning. In the third, Luis Severino will work a nice clean 1-2-3 against our Mets. Then we see Tyrone Taylor makes a great diving attempt there in center the half inning later. It would still be a single for the A's, but not for lack of effort there by Taylor to try to dive out and get it. Then we see Butler with a single, and Rooker with a key double play ends it from there. Jermaine, thank you so much for the $2 haul in the chat. I greatly appreciate that, my friend. We're really happy to have you in here. Smash that like and subscribe button if you guys haven't chimed in already. Thank you. And yes, happy Passover to all who celebrate as well. Steve, happy to have you in here as always, you amazing member. Appreciate you guys greatly chiming in live on a replay, everybody. And as we continue on in the fourth inning, Brandon Nimmo with a 1-out double, opposite field, and that would snap, shouldn't snap, but that should have us more concerned that, okay, the Mets have a runner in scoring position. position. Are they able to pounce? Are they able to take advantage of this opportunity? And we would go on to see that, unfortunately, after that would initially happen, the Mets would be over the last 22 with runners in scoring position in this series to that point. So what do they do after Vientos promptly strikes out on a slider that he chased down and away? Terens with a 2-out walk, so he gets on base yet again because Terens is a dog. Beatty with a strikeout then would end it. A brutal strikeout, worked a full count against Sevy, and bites and simply cannot handle that slider down and in. A gorgeously painted pitch there by Severino, but a tough strikeout for Beatty as he struggles, at the time at least, continue to lead into the 5th inning. And in the 5th inning, we would see Taylor ground out, Acuna ground out, and Lindor with a 2-out single for Soto to sadly line out thereafter, and that does it. In the bottom of the 5th, Senga works a 1-2-3 and strikes out Max Muncy on the ghost fork beautifully. In the 6th, we would see Alonso get on with a walk, Nimmo with a ground out, Vientos with a ground out, and Terens with 2 outs. He says, not a problemo, my friend. I'm going to get this figured out big time. And what does he do? He rips himself an Oppo RBI single, and at that point, that snapped the Mets. Get ready for this. Over 27 stretch with runners in scoring position. That's how putrid they were entering that at bat for Terens, but thankfully he snapped it. Here comes in the southpaw TJ McFarland, who the Mets cut in spring training 2 years ago, and Brett Beatty flies out there in the lefty-lefty matchup. Actually lifts the baseball, so not complaining about that. Little steps in the right direction, Brett, and that would hold true as this game continues on from there. We would then see in the bottom of the 6th, Rooker with a flyout, Soderstrom with a walk, Shea Langeliers with a flyout, love the name obviously, and a Duhar with a line out would end it for there. So Kodai Sanga is at 67 pitches through 6 innings, and like each and every one of you, I'm feeling pretty damn good about the outing that we're getting from him. Sam Ortiz, thank you so much for the $4 holla. Woody, love your content. Sam, I love you, baby. Happy to have you in here. Thank you so much for chiming in. Great start to the year. You said it, boss. 10-5. Who's complaining? You're a schmuck if you're complaining. I mean that in the most sweetest way possible. No one should be complaining about the Mets start to the season. Yes, we have some things to nitpick on the rudder and scoring position front. Yes, the Mets have been putrid on that, and yes, they had the worst batting average in all of the National League entering today's game with runners in scoring position, but as I have said time and time again in this show already, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, and the Mets pounced on this bullpen, which was absolutely something that they need to do. In the 7th, everybody, we would see Taylor gets on with a hit by pitch, Acuna with a fielder's choice. Initially, they had runners safe at 1st and 2nd, even though Taylor was clearly out at 2nd. I don't know why Tyrone didn't slide. Like each and every one of you, I was scratching my head. After review, after the challenge play by the A's, it would in fact be a force out there. So Acuna gets on first with a 1 away. And what does Luis Angel Acuna do? Mind you, who started the inning by getting on there with a bunt that we saw initially, hoping to move the runner over, but he gets on via fielder's choice. He goes all the way first to home, like the beauty that he is, as Lindor rips one in the gap, opposite field RBI double. Lindor, that increases the Mets lead here, and you absolutely love to see it. Acuna, this is what I've been telling you guys. It goes back to a couple days ago when the series started, and it holds true again. Even with Beatty's success today, Luis Angel Acuna continues to do everything and then some to warrant getting consistent reps at second base. Whether this means the Mets get Beatty more reps at 3rd and Vientos more reps at DH going forward, that is yet to be seen. I hope they don't for the sake of throwing off Vientos too much, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, why fix it? I see both sides of the coin here, but one thing is true, even after the success that everyone felt that they had in this lineup today, 1 through 9, I still want to see Luis Angel Acuna be the go-to guy there at second base more often than not. I am over the nonsense, oh, okay, well, it's a righty, that means that we have to automatically have Beatty, and that shouldn't be the case every single time, especially when Acuna is doing something what feels like every single time he's out there, it's either great defense, it's great base running, or it's putting the ball in play. We haven't really had too many games this year where Acuna has looked completely outmatched and looked like he didn't belong. If anything, Acuna has looked the most belonging between himself, Vientos, and Beatty, and the youngsters of the 3 to begin the season a large degree. And yes, including Mark up until pretty much today's game, and he did have 1 or 2 other games where else Vientos' at-bats looked really good. He's been grinding, we know that, and how Beatty, Vientos, and everyone their mother finished this ball game would be nothing short of tremendous, because after the Lindor opposite field RBI double, which would increase the Mets lead, Soto is then intentionally walked for the polar bear, and Pete Alonso sadly is struck out looking. He is absolutely fooled. One runs way back in on him there that we see just to nick the bottom left corner, stays in the the zone, and that does it from there. So Alonso is out on strikes. Nimmo with a 2-out walk. A tremendous at-bat for Brandon Nimmo, who overall didn't have a terrible series. I know some of you Mets fans were ragging me yesterday for saying Nimmo had another good day yesterday by hitting a tank, but I'm sorry. When no one in the lineup is hitting, of course I'm going to call one of the few guys to actually driving a run, having a solid day. The bar's low. I know they've all been putrid with runners in scoring position, but we can't nitpick and say Nimmo's been the only one when it's been a universal issue with this entire lineup. Brandon Nimmo had a home run in game 1, a home run in game 2, and a multi game today that we saw, including some key extra base hits. As Nimmo got on with a walk here with 2 outs, that sets up Mark Vientos, who drives in his run, his first 2 on the day, this time with a walk. TJ McFarland had no clue how to handle things. If McFarland was the one still in there, it might have been a right-hander, so I apologize. Regardless, Vientos makes it a 3-0 ball game, and Luis Torrens, who I was so pumped up to see with runners in scoring position, is unfortunately not able to get the job done. He lines out right away, sawed off on a pitch inside there, and that does it for the 7th. In the bottom of the 7th, Kodai Sanga's final inning of work, everybody. What does Kodai do? He casually gives us a nice 1-2-3, you're out of here, with a couple punchies on the Ghost Fork, and then 98-mile-per-hour paint to end the ball game. For him, I should say, not ending the ball game entirely, but ending the inning there in the 7th. Guys, can we talk about the greatness that is Kodai Sanga? You know what? I'm not going to ask you guys. That was a rhetorical question. We have to break down the brilliance that was Kodai today. Guys, look at these highlights with me. They're disgusting. Kodai Sanga has looked pretty solid so far this year. His first start against Miami, threw a couple meatballs of fastballs, middle, didn't love that. Outside of that, the Ghost Fork worked well. His last start looked solid. Again, we got more out of him. His first start, he didn't even go 5 for the Mets. His second start, he went, I believe, at least 5, if not 5.1. Now today, he goes 7 shutty for the Mets on just 79 pitches, 4 hits. Look at him stretching in between innings. Little do the Athletics know that this happy-go-lucky man is going to strike your ass out without a problem. No earned runs, a 1.06 ERA on the season throughout 3 starts for Kodai, 4 punchies, and all I gotta say is I am absolutely hyped the heck up, guys. You know I ask you all the time for our ratings on pitchers on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel how Kodai Sanga did in today's matchup in particular? But folks, I gotta be straight up with each and every one of you and tell you that, in my opinion, Kodai Sanga gave us exactly the kind of outing that we were not only praying for, but this is an easy, yes, you're gonna hear me say it, this is an easy 8.5 out of 10 for Kodai Sanga. And the only reason why I'm not going above 8.5 is because I gotta leave a little wiggle room for the exceptions of full game shutties, a no-no, or, you know, a one-hitter, something along those lines. Otherwise, Kodai Sanga was absolutely disgusting today. And look at how he utilized what was a 6 to 7 pitch mix today beautifully. The four-seam fastball, he threw 29% of the time and was topped out 98. The hardest ball he threw was in the 7th inning for his final K. Bulldog mentality. Averaged 96 on the velo today. That was roughly 2 miles per hour higher than his previous starts of season. See the velos there, guys? That's huge. Cutter, 27% that he utilized so well that we saw, especially against the right-handers. 35% whiff there that we saw against righties. Topped out 95, sat 91 on it. The Ghost Fork that he threw 23% of the time. Topped out 85, sat right around 83. It was nasty as well. Had a 33% right there against left-handers on the whiff. Slider, which he threw 8% of the time, topped out 87, sat 84. Sinker, 6% of the time, topped out 92, sat 90. Sweeper, 5% of the time, topped out 84.5, sat 80. Curveball, 3% of the time, topped out 70.4, and sat right around 69. Nice to 70. Haram, thank you so much for the $5 haul. Haram says, I love that you are a humble man and admit when you are wrong about Terenz. That is why you are the man. Haram, I love you. Thank you so much for not only being a great member, but for appreciating when I'm obviously always going to go out of my way to say when I'm wrong, because I'm going to be honest, that was one of the first things that I was spewing to each and every one of you were my great concerns with Terenz and Senga as your 1A, 1B to begin the season. I really thought that the offense may have a chance to falter. Not that I thought Terenz couldn't hit at all, but I wasn't banking on Terenz to be that go-to guy the same exact way that he was for the Mets last year when Alvarez first went down with injury and we acquired him. I thought that was lightning in a bottle that the Mets acquired. I really didn't think that they were going to tap into it this good to begin the season, but every single game that Torrens is in there, as long as he's staying relatively healthy, we saw him grab his hammy at inning before he would go out and give the Mets an RBI ground rule double because he's just a beast. Again, he's getting beat up every single day out there, doing his best Francisco Alvarez impression, and it simply doesn't matter. I'm obsessed with the start of the season that Luis Torrens has had for this Mets team, but furthermore, I'm even more impressed right now with Kodai Sanga getting back in a groove. The first time we're really seeing him locked in, doing his thing, doing exactly what he's supposed to do, something that we missed so much throughout the entire course of the 162 last year. But he got caught up against the Braves, shut out, and had himself, 8 or 9 punchies and not even 5 innings or so, and then that was that until postseason. Of course, he's getting rocked by throwing meatballs middle against the Dodgers. What do you think's gonna happen, right? You need Kodai to get in a groove. You need Kodai to beat Kodai Sanga and use that ghost fork, use that fastball, use that cutter against righties as well. He was on it. This was the most efficient we've seen Sanga so far this year. This is far and away the best pitching outing that we've had from the Mets so far this season, and best part of it all is that there was not a single second where I felt like Kodai didn't have it today. You know how many starts we've seen from guys, whether it has been Clay Holmes to a degree, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill, among others, where they're carving, but you're getting concerned because they're also giving up some hard contact or they're walking too many guys, and you're like, okay, I'm liking this, but I don't expect this to really do too hot beyond 4 innings or so, which is why no one's really went deep for the Mets yet this season. Yet Kodai Sanga goes out and he's an absolute dog for this Mets team because he wasn't the only one. We're going to get into the offensive standouts here in just a minute, everybody. As we continue to break down this ball game, we were just in the 7th, and Kodai Sanga's final line as follows: 7 innings, 4 hit, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, no earned runs, 1.06 ERA on the season. He's a beauty. We love to see it. In the 8th inning, everybody, we see Tyrone Taylor lead things off with a triple. We would see some horrendous fundies by specifically everyone and their mother in the athletics organization this entire inning, because Taylor gets himself a triple. Then a balk would drive in Taylor, mind you. And this comes after there were bad fundies that we saw in the 7th plenty too. So back-to-back innings of just bad. Pardon me. Yeah, I'm just making sure that I'm on track with all my notes here. So let me make sure that I didn't miss anything. Okay. In the 8th inning, Taylor gets on with that triple. Then a balk allows Taylor to score all the way somehow from third, but whether it was a botch call or not, that goes in the Mets' favor. That makes it 4-0 Amazons, right? Then always on how Acuna rips his first base knock of the day, which we love to see. Soto gets on with a 2-out walk, and Alonso sadly with a check swing strikeout would end the day. There in the 8th at least. AJ Minter comes in at the bottom of the 8th, and AJ Minter works a nice clean inning. He does give up a hit, and it's not his fault. Every Mets pitcher for the most part gave up a hit against Butler today. Butler, who was extended by the A's heading into the regular season, a very exciting young talent for them who has a lot of power and a lot of contact ability from that left side. He ripped himself his 3rd hit of the day, but that's all she wrote. AJ Minter works out of the easy jam, and we head to the 9th. And in the 9th inning, Brandon Nimmo gets the party started as he plays center with a single. Vientos then with an RBI double, and this, folks, is where the bad funnies really unravel more than ever before for the Athletics in this ballgame. And Duhar's completely 3 steps behind on this ball. Vientos should have been out in front of it. Should have honestly been just a deep single, but no, gets way past him. Vientos gets all the way to second, driving in a run. That increases the Mets' lead. And then Luis Torrens, right away, first pitch swing or so, it's almost a dead center home run. Instead, it's an RBI ground rule double down the middle. Why? Because Seth Brown, who hasn't played the outfield and center really since 2022, completely loses a ball there in the sun, and that allows another run to score. Torrens, fantastic job. That makes it 6-0 Mets. Then Brett the Hitman Beatty, and yes, folks, it feels like the first time in forever I can say that nickname, and it actually makes sense. Brett Beatty went out and did the thing, everybody, and if you guys haven't already, please make sure to continue smashing a like and subscribe button. If we could get to 300 plus likes by the end of the live show for our 400 concurrent viewers, that would really mean a lot. If you guys could just help us get to 150 to 200, that would really mean a lot too. And to our replay viewers, let us know your thoughts, further reactions, and key takeaways in the comments down below to the latest series victory for the Amazons, winning by a final score of 8-0 as we're breaking down everything to its C. Fantastic job there by Beatty as he would rip an RBI triple. Yes, you heard that correctly. Finally, Brett Beatty pulled and lifted a baseball and did it with authority, as you see in the highlights beside me. Tremendous job by Brett today. Can't get over the fact that, again, it ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish. The first couple at-bats were horrendous, right? Both him and Vientos were not having good at-bats to start against Sevy especially, but you knew the opportunity would come if you could pounce on this lesser bullpen for the Athletics, and the Mets certainly did that. Brett Baty also made not one, but two tremendous double play turns, all started by himself, that we saw in back-to-back innings, and that would be key to the further success as to why it wouldn't be shocking if Baty does get more playing time in this Twins series. Not that I want to see Acuna losing playing time over Baty at second base, but if the Mets do roll out with another game like this where they give Brett the opportunity at the hot corner, give Vientos another rep at DH, I don't hate the idea as long as it doesn't throw off too many things with Mark, because Mark is still our third baseman regardless of how good or bad his defense has really been so far this season. But Baty held his own at the hot corner, looked as comfortable as ever there, and looked like a guy that honestly didn't skip a beat. And maybe that went in hand with his success that he had throughout the latter of this ball game. Because as Baty rips an RBI triple, his first career triple, mind you, and that was a tremendous pulled baseball, 7-0 Mets lead. Taylor then makes it 8-0 on an RBI single. Piss poor defense in the infield there by the Athletics. Just poor fundies around, and that sets everything up for the bottom of the ninth. Max Kranick, my dog, our friend on the platform that many of you guys know well. And as things go when Max Kranick pitches, well, we got to talk about it. What does Max Kranick do? He works an easy, a nice and clean inning of work in the ninth inning, folks, and they go down in order. Max Kranick, you'll love to see it. This Mets team, you'll love to see it as they officially win by a final score of 8-0. They out-hit the Athletics 11-5. They had an expected batting average of 358 to 235, so clearly showing you just how much of an impact these bats had today. They not only had luck on their side, but they actually had quality at bats, even though Sevy was carving up early in this matchup. And speaking of quality at bats, everybody, let's continue to appreciate my guy, my star of the game on the offensive end. Yes, Lindor drove in a run. Yes, we saw Vientos, of course, have his offensive upside that we'll talk more about in a second. And yes, Baty and Acuna had their slivers of brilliance, but Luis Torrens continues to play like a man that's playing against children. Seriously, every single time Torrens gets an at-bat, I just have the utmost confidence that he's going to go out and do something special. A 3-for-4 day with not one but two RBIs, including that RBI ground rule double down center that we saw. A 333 average and a 942 OPS on the season is what we got for a guy in Luis Torrens. The Mets lineup as a whole, everybody, Lindor went 2-for-5 with a double on the RBI, a 222 average and 619 OPS. Juan Soto 0-for-3 with a 250 average, 794 OPS, 2 walks. Is anyone concerned about Juan Soto? Because if you are, let me know in the chat. I certainly am not, but I was asked by people on social media, very specific fans that always love to complain. They know who they are, cough, cough, Nathan. And asking me why am I not freaking out about Juan Soto's underwhelming start, and the response is it's been more of a universal issue with a lot of guys in this offense, and if there's anyone that has a track record to get going, it's Juan Soto, and that's why I'm far from concerned. I just want to see him not be as conservative with his at-bats. He looks like he's looking for the walk sometimes, and I know that's part of the course with Soto. You're going to get that a lot throughout the course of the season, but I want to see him hit home runs. I want to see him go more gap to gap, and I thought this would be a series to make that happen. It didn't happen, and that's okay. I'm not losing sleep over it, but I definitely want to know how you guys feel about the totality of the Mets lineup here, because after Soto went 0-for, we saw Alonso, even with an 0-for-4 day and a run scored and a walk, Alonso still batting .321 with a just under 1,100 OPS. Brandon Nimmo, 2-for-4 with the run scored, the opposite field double, and the walk, we see Nimmo with a 228 average and a 777 OPS. Mark Vientos, 1-for-4 with the double, the 2 RBIs, pair of strikeouts, 130 average, 439 OPS. Luis Torrens, just talked about him. Brett Baty, 1-for-5 with the triple and the RBI, a 139 average and a 361 OPS. Yes, folks, Brett Baty, I know he has a much more smaller sample size, but Brett Baty does in fact have a greater batting average currently than Mark Vientos. Who would have thought that 2+ weeks in the season? I could be honest with you, I did not think that would ever be the case. Tyrone Taylor, 1-for-4 with the triple, batting 176 with a 435 OPS. That was Taylor's first extra base hit of the year. And Luis Angel Acuna, who I cannot get over just how great of an overall player he is. He's very talented, and his Raw tools are showing that they aren't as raw as maybe we thought that they would be to begin the season. 1 for 5 with the runs scored. We know how much of a base stealing threat he is. We know how much of a demon he is on the bags, just like Jose Siri. And we wish Jose Siri a speedy recovery, as he is still not looking the best coming back from his injury, which is why we could probably see him placed on the injured list as soon as tomorrow. But a 214 average there and a 576 OPS for Luis Angel Acuna on the season, everybody. I want to hear your continued thoughts on the Mets lineup and its totality there, 1 through 9. What has stood out the most for you versus what has not? Because not only did Terrence give us a tremendous 3 for 4 game, but he also called Kodai Sanga brilliantly. Like, that can't be lost in this either. I know Kodai gets the majority of flowers in this conversation, but seriously, Terrence called a hell of a ball game. He had everything working. I love the approach against right-handers specifically. I thought, right-handed batters rather. I thought Senga was absolutely nails of the cutter that we saw. The ghost fork was brilliant. Brent Rooker simply couldn't hit that at all the entirety of the game. And to have that fastball touch 98 dot in the 7th, I'm just salivating. I can't get over that, seriously. Ew, Rebecca, our great member of the chat, Rebecca just said, and PB9, great member, happy to have you guys. Rebecca just said, Omar Narvaez, don't remind me of Omar Narvaez. Keep that stink out of here. Omar just signed, I think, a deal with the White Sox a couple days ago, which goes in hand with why the White Sox lost to Garrett Crochet today. Regardless if Narvaez was in the lineup or not, I'm sure he wasn't. But still, Omar Narvaez, all he does is single-handedly rob teams of millions. And sadly, when you have a GM that was trigger-happy and is spending millions in the way Billy Epler was, that's how you get stuck with 8+ mil AAV for across 2 years or so, which is less than ideal, but it wasn't even as bad as James McCann, more like James McCann, eating $40 million while being nothing but a subpar batter, a subpar catcher for the Mets across a total of, 2.5 years or so, however long McCann was here. Felt like an eternity, even though that we were done with him before his contract was even done. We ate it for the final couple of years. But Wardy's getting on a tangent because you're having all the bad Mets PTSD from the past couple of years under Cohen. The negativity on the catching end really start to blossom and find itself in the conversation. But the reason why we're going to deviate away from that now is because screw McCann, screw Omar Narvaez, screw Travis Stardo back when he was a Met because he was a schmuck and he had all the batting stances wrong, had to swing that bat all around his head, couldn't stay healthy until he landed in Atlanta. Why? Because Brody Van Wagenen gave him the greatest incentive imaginable by cutting him after signing a new deal with the Mets, cutting him after the first week or two of the season, not even. Then going to the Dodgers for a hot minute, was on the Rays and the Braves, and the rest is history. Now he's in Anaheim. Guys, Luis Torrens is hitting opposite field like he's Wilson Ramos on his 20-plus game hitting streak back in the Brody Van Wagenen era of the Mets. If you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Tomas Nino, I'm not going to throw too much shade to because Nino was always a very good defensive guy, was our best sack bunter as well. We just knew what he was offensively, which wasn't much. But Torrens is Wilson Ramos on a 20-game hitting streak consistently with good defense. That is what Luis Torrens is. That's why I'm obsessed with the guy. He's been such an amazing story. And if Torrens can keep it up just to be, again, a formidable backup option, then the Mets are going to have themselves a deadly catching duo throughout the course of the season. Seriously, like, this cannot be understated just how much upside a guy like Torrens immediately has for this Mets team. And listen, the Mets needed it because, as we said, entering that at-bat where Torrens finally drove in the first run of the game for the Mets here to make it 1-0 in the 6th inning, the Mets were 0 for 27 previously this series with runners in scoring position. So they weren't hitting for a lick. They had their fair share of struggles, and we all know that plenty, everybody. And we're going to continue to break down everything in this ball game for each and every one of you. Don't you guys worry. Frank Sessa, thank you so much for the $2 holla as well. That really does mean a lot, everybody. But I am going to probably cut things off for our replay viewers here. So, replay viewers, what I want to relay and let you guys know in conclusion is as follows. Not only did the Mets win 8-0 in this matchup and still won their 4th consecutive series for now a 10-5 record, the Mets were still 3-12 with runners in scoring position, and they left 11 on base. That is not good. The Mets are still absolutely doo-doo with runners in scoring position, all things considered. The worst in the National League, and that's not something we were hoping to say to begin the season, but at the same time, none of us thought the Mets would have the best team ERA collectively for the most part for the first 2+ weeks of the season, yet here we are up until I think entering the series or so. So clearly, things are never going to go exactly how you hope throughout the course of the 162 in a season, but at the same time, the fact that the Mets are 5 games above 500 when they're playing this bad with runners in scoring position leads me to believe that things can only be getting up from here, right? So, Frank, thank you so much for the $2 holla. To all my replay viewers, please let us know your biggest takeaway in the comments down below. Greatly appreciate, as always. And to all of our live viewers, we're going to continue on for a bit more before I gotta get out of here. Then I gotta do an SNY New York Post segment with my guy, Dexter Henry. That'll be live shortly up on the official New York Post Sports YouTube channel. And then I'm going to work on my Big Mets updates video to drop in the AM for each and every one of you. But guys, live show will continue for a next number of minutes still. But everyone watching on replay, this is where we're cutting things off. Let's go Mets, baby. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. I'll see you all tomorrow for the latest Mets content.